Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath class for the 18th of February, 2022. Okay, what I'll be dealing with is I'll be reading out of Enoch for our topic for the Sabbath class, breaking down Enoch chapter 71. I'm asking everybody to go to our YouTube channel, the Prophets of Awakening, and check out our videos. It's a lot of information given, and the videos connect dots for you and lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. If you like what you are hearing and receiving from the channel, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to it. It'd be greatly appreciated. And for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Shalom and welcome, Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our Sabbath class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, Sabbath prayer, Psalms, do some current events, a little need-to-know information, then we'll open it up for some Q&A and go back over some things that we do in the week. Okay, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these final days, final hours of our captivity. Oh Lord, we come before thee at this hour on your day that you have given unto us for rest in your Shabbat, praising you and honoring you because of your position, both in heaven and upon the earth, the position in which the Creator Yahweh have given unto thee. And through your spirit and counsel, O Lord, we have awakened. We have awakened to know who we are as a people and who you are as our Savior and our Redeemer. And we thank you for all that you have done, and we eagerly searching the scriptures out that we may be in the right place at the right time upon your arrival to this planet. We love you and we seek you daily, O Lord. There is none else besides thee to redeem us. And we see you in the affairs of the world, and we faithfully await your deliverance. Peace be unto you. Okay. So with that, we'll read a psalm. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna read Psalms 89, not 89, but I read Psalms 84. It's blessed are they that dwell in thy house. It's a psalm of get out. Okay, one of the chief musicians. How admirable are thy tabernacles, O Lord of hosts. My soul longeth, yea, even fainteth for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh crieth out for the living God. Yea, the sparrow hath found a house, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may lay her young, even thine altars, O Lord of hosts, my King and my God. Blessed are they that dwell in the house. They will be still praising thee, Shalom, Selah. Blessed is the man whose strength is in thee, in whose heart are the ways of them, who passing through the valley of Baca make it a well. The rain also filleth the pools. They go from strength to strength. Every one of them in Zion appeared before God. O Lord God of hosts, hear my prayer. Give ear, O God of Jacob. Selah. Behold, O God, our shield, and look upon the face of thine anointing. For a day in the courts is better than 1,000. I had rather be a doorkeeper in the house of God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing will he withhold from them that walk upright. O Lord of hosts, blessed is the man that trusteth in thee. Okay, that was Psalms 84. Blessed are they that dwell in the house. Right? Anybody have any comments on that? Something they read? Something they heard? Okay, I'm going to shine a light on verse 12. It says, O Lord, Lord of hosts, blessed is the man that trusteth in thee. So to me, that's a major statement, understanding who the Lord of hosts is and how they denigrate him. So blessed is the man that understand who the Lord of hosts is. Okay? So with that being said, I want to shine a light on this. Let me say some shalom, everybody. Shalom. 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 Okay. Shalom, everybody. So with that being said, I want to play this kind of this triggered something me last night. I was dealing with this, so I want to shine light on it. Okay, it's we start playing first, and then we go into it.
Yale professor and Marxist Richard Wolff gave a talk in which he argued that the entire West, including the United States, has failed to defeat Russia, and that the US has failed to learn from China's rise to become a major competitor. China's economy is growing much faster than that of the US, with an average annual growth rate of 6 to 9% compared to 2 to 3% for the US. The US has attempted to stop China's rise by declaring a trade war and applying sanctions, but these measures have been unsuccessful. Now, the US is in a war with Russia in Ukraine, which Wolff argues is an attempt to weaken Russia, which is China's ally. The sanctions applied to Russia have not had the desired effect, and the Russian economy has rebounded from the initial dip. Wolff argues that the US is in denial about the changing world order, and that inequality in the US is continuing to get worse. This has led to explosions of anger and resentment among the population, which are expressed in crime, bitterness, and scapegoating. Wolff argues that the US needs to confront the reality of the changing world order and address the root causes of social and economic inequality. Welcome to Asian Quick Take. I am Jacob. Let's listen to Richard Wolff's fascinating presentation below.
Fast is the economy growing? Here in the United States, 2%, maybe slightly more, 2.3%, somewhere in there. Let's be generous, 2 to 3%. US, average annual growth. China, average annual growth, 6 to 9%. End of conversation. That's why China went from being one of the poorest countries in the world to being a competitor of the United States, one of the richest. You know what it's like? It's a story a little like the colony in North America being a place for furs and then becoming the new empire, so that the roles between between Great Britain and its colony were reversed. Now Britain is our colony, as any honest appraisal of the relationship between these two countries would immediately acknowledge. In Britain, one of the most common jokes you can hear is that when the United States tells Britain to jump, the response of Britain is, how high? It's a question. China has overtaken the United States in dozens of fields, particularly the highest tech ones. Young people around you are using TikTok. That's Chinese as a social media. What's going on? The United States doesn't know what to do. Having not learned the lessons, having not understood what denial means, for a long time, they denied. Because to see the rise of China is to take a step in the direction that might make you confront what's happening to you. And that's a taboo. Wow. Finally, the United States figures it out. And what does it do? As if it learned nothing from its history? It tries warfare. It tries to slow down, to stop, maybe even to reverse history, just like Britain did. Mr. Trump declared a trade war against China. You remember? It's not that many years ago. He applied sanctions. He applied tariffs. He did everything he could to stop the reverse. None of it worked. It was one big, fat failure. Now we are in a war, we, the U.S. and its allies, with the most important ally China had, Russia. That's what's going on in Ukraine. It has got nothing whatever to do with that sad country suffering this war. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's the truth of Ukraine. All the rest is propagandistic foolery on both sides. This is about weakening the ally of China, which Russia is. When the war started, Mr. Biden predicted the Russians couldn't last a few weeks. With this armada of countries and weapons and wealth and you name it, he referred to what they were doing as the mother of all sanctions, which it was, greatest sanction program ever applied. Russia wouldn't last. The ruble would be valueless within weeks. All of that, 100% wrong. The ruble is worth more now than it was before the invasion. The Russian economy bubbling along pretty well. Took a dip right after, came back most of the way. You know why? Because the sanctions mainly stopped buying oil and gas, which is Russia's lifeline. That's what Russia is, an exporter of oil and gas. I'm exaggerating, but it's the basic story. And Europe said we wouldn't buy it anymore, and that would have crippled Russia, except Russia found other buyers. It's not a complicated story. China bought more. India bought tons more. Saudi Arabia is reorganizing its economy. Pakistan is making important agreements with the Chinese and the Russians on. The world isn't, guess what, controlled by the United States. It's over. It's all around you. The United Nations took a vote on Ukraine. The majority of people did not agree, the majority of countries did not agree with the United States. They either voted on the side of Russia or they abstained. They refused to participate. It's over, but you live in an environment which needs to deny it. The divisions in our society become worse with each passing day because they're grounded in a reality that isn't changing. Inequality, as I'm speaking to you, is continuing to get worse. Corporations are working as hard as they ever did to pay no taxes. The mass of people are suffering on a scale that is unspeakable. The inflation we're still have. Prices are going up roughly twice as fast as wages. That's a destruction of the working class. Prices are going up twice the rate of wages. This is impossible. You can't do this without explosions. Now, the explosions are happening in our country, but they're not happening out of an understanding of what I've just told you. Just think about how much of what I've just told you is relatively new for you, and you're open to it. You think about these things. That's why you have something to do with the community church in Boston, of course. That's why you invite people like me. I get that, and I appreciate it. But for most Americans, no foundation like has been provided. Not in the school, not in the media, not from the political leadership, nowhere. And not from the churches either, in general.
Okay, so let's look at that. Let's take it to the scriptures. So he's telling you, he's giving you, like, it's actually a dire warning that ain't nothing working. Everything they're doing, trying to keep America propped up, it ain't nothing working. So like I said, let's take it to the scriptures. The Most High raised up Nebuchadnezzar, right? And if you go to the book of Judith in the Apocrypha, you'll see Nebuchadnezzar was a little bitty off-brand guy somewhere over in the on the Euphrates, but Most High had plans for him. So Nebuchadnezzar sent all these letters out At the time, the Syrians was the world power, had the greatest army, and Nebuchadnezzar was getting ready to fight against them. And so he sent these 7 angels. When you understand the scriptures, nobody else understood that, but he sent these 7 angels to fight with Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar went up against the Syrian army and conquered it. That's how Babylon became the world power. And that's what he's talking about when he says a beast is going to come out of the north country. He's talking about Nebuchadnezzar. He raised him up. So Nebuchadnezzar came, just like prophecy was stated. He showed up in Jerusalem, and he took a bunch of the Israelites captive and took them into Babylon. So, based on what we just heard, America is going down. You know, you can either get yourself prepared for it, or you can get caught up in the sauce. So let's read Daniel chapter 4 and see if this ain't the same thing. This ain't nothing new under the sun. It says, Nebuchadnezzar, the king unto all the people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. So this was happening. He having a vision, right? I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God have wrought toward me. How great are the signs and how mighty are the wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the vision of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the musicians and astrologers and the Chaldeans, the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at the last, Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belshazzar, master of the musicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret trouble thee. Tell me the vision of my dream, that I have seen the interpretation thereof. So let's look at that right quick. Verse 8 says, but at last Daniel came in before me. This Nebuchadnezzar talking, whose name was Belshazzar, according to the name of my God. Then here we go, right here. This is the point I want to make. And in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. So who is these holy gods, right? These are 7 angels. Well, let's go back right quick to Genesis, because I heard somebody bring this up. You know, you keep hearing these Christians, right? They say they're Israelites, but they're Christian. So I'm in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26, right? It says, Genesis 1 and 26 says, okay, says, and God said, let us, see that? God said, let us make man in our image. So the Christian want to say that that's Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. But look what Nebuchadnezzar just said. Go back. Nebuchadnezzar said, but at last Daniel was coming in before me, whose name was Belshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. Same gods. 7. That's the same one with Genesis 1:26. Not Yahushua or Jesus. So anyway, he says, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods, and before whom I told a dream, saying, O Belshazzar, master of the musicians, because I know, look at this, he said it again, second witness, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. Right? See that? Say, and no secret troubles thee. Tell me the vision of my dream that I have seen and interpretation thereof. Okay, so remember what the professor just told you. Nothing they can do. The Ukraine war is a try to cut off prophecy, because the Most High told us at the very end he got two nations reserved for the end. That's Russia and China. right? So he says right here, O Belshazzar, master of the musicians. This Daniel 4:9. O Belshazzar, I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and the secret trouble of thee. Tell me the vision of my dream that I have seen, interpretation thereof. Thus were the vision of my head in my bed, and I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and behold, and the height thereof was great. Okay, this Nebuchadnezzar, that tree now is the United States, right? The tree grew and was strong, and the heights thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. But the leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of heaven dwelt in the bowls thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. See that? So here we go. 13. And I saw in the vision of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and a holy one came down from heaven. See that? It's a watcher and a holy one, both of them angels. They came down from heaven. Ain't no sun, okay? They came down from heaven, right? 14. And he cried. It's one of the seven. He cried aloud and said, thus, hew down the tree and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves, and scatter his fruit. And let the beast get away. Let the beast get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Evidently, this decree been made on the United States. Everybody fumbling with it. The decree already been made. We're looking at it. So he says, 15. Nevertheless, the leaves, the stumps of his roots, leave the stumps of his roots in the earth, even with the bands of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. So we see right here, these Most High and these angels that was there in the very beginning decreed this. They brought Nebuchadnezzar to power, then it was a decree went out. Time for it to go. So he told the Israelites through Jeremiah, he said, go to Babylon and serve Nebuchadnezzar, his son, and his grandson. That's a 70-year span. And then he said, I'm gonna bring Babylon down. So let's look at it. Keep in mind what the man just told us, right? So we're in chapter 5 of Daniel, right? This is Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, Belshazzar, right? Nebuchadnezzar went to Babylon, got all the vessels, the Most High, the Lord of hosts vessels that they used to worship him with. Now, 70 years later, or 69 years later, Belshazzar got these same vessels, and he's finna have a feast. But a decree already been passed. I just read the decree. He said, hew down the tree, right? Chapter 5, verse 1, Daniel. Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and he drank wine before the 1,000. And Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels, which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, his concubines might drink thereof. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was in Jerusalem. And the king and the princes and the wives and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine, and they praised the gods of gold and of silver and of brass and iron and wood and stone, right? Verse 5, in the same hour, right? In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and rolled over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed. See that? Like the man just said. All of a sudden, there's nothing they can do. And they're scrambling. So he says, and then the king's countenance changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote, one against another. So he peed on himself, right? We ain't gonna fumble with it. So it says, the king cried out aloud to bring in the astrologers and the Chaldeans and the soothsayers, and the king spake, and he said to his wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. So, like I said before, it's the Most High don't miss a beat. So it's gonna take an Israelite to break this down. The oracles of the Most High is for Israelites. So we got all these clowns trying to decipher this and decipher that, but he went and got all these soothsayers, but it's on Daniel's shoulder to break it down to him, right? So Daniel was summoned. Verse 13. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, art thou that Daniel which are children of the captivity of Judah? See that? So notice the Israelites here in America just as well as they was in Babylon. But they at the bottom of the food chain. They ain't getting no respect. So it says, whom the king my father brought out of Judah. I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the gods, there to go again, not Yahushua, spirit of these seven gods, is in thee, and that the light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read the writings and make known unto me the interpretation thereof, but they could not show the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of thee, that thou cannot make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Now, if thou cannot read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with a scarlet and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shall be third ruler in the kingdom. So let me read that 16 again. I have heard of thee, that thou cannot make interpretations, dissolve doubt. Now, if thou canst read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shall be third ruler in the kingdom. So we're not going to worry about the chain of gold and being third ruler, right? 17. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let the gifts be to thyself, and give thy reward to another. See that? Ain't trying to get no views. Don't get no money from YouTube. Yet I will read the writing unto the king and make known to him interpretation. Here we go. O thou king, the Most High God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom. I told you that. He sent these 7 angels. Same one in Genesis 1:26, and gave Nebuchadnezzar a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and languages tremble and fear before him, just like America, whom he found and he slew, and whom he kept alive, and whom he would set up, and whom he would put down. But when his heart was lifted up and his mind hardened in pride, he was disposed from his kingly throne, and it took his glory from him, and he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over him whosoever he will. And though his son Belshazzar, this is the son, he told Daniel, grandson, has not humbled thine heart, though thou knowest all this. Same America. These are Europeans. They know who we are. They know the story. They refuse to humble themselves. So he says, 22 and 23, but has lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, thy concubines, have drunk wine in them, and has praised the gods of silver and gold and brass and iron and wood and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God is in whose hand thy breath is, and whose all thy ways as thou not glorified. Then was a part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing. This is what he wanted to know. He's looking for a man that can interpret writings. This is the writings that was written. Mina, Tika, Yerushan, whatever that word is. This is the interpretation of the thing. God have numbered thy kingdom and finished it. That's what we at. That's what we are with America. God has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tika, thou art weighed in the balances and are found wanting. Came to the East Coast, West Coast, and got his people. Know who they was. Brought them over here and drama after drama for 400 something years. Right? 29. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with a scarlet and put a chain on his of gold on his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be third to rule in the kingdom. Right? And then it says, here you go, right here. 30 and 31. In the night, the same night, was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. He was killed. And Darius the Medes took the kingdom, being about 80 and 2 years old. So what are we talking about? Like I said, you got the 4 beasts. It's 10 different incarnations of the 4 beasts. America is the 9th. We're getting ready to go into the last one. China. So just the same way Nebuchadnezzar's son went down, it was overnight. Next day, Darius was in charge. And that's all the professor was telling you, that there's a change happening. Nobody ain't paying no attention to it. It's nothing America can do. Everything happening, and its time is up. The Moab is up. It's going down. So let's look at that. So we've been seeing in the news, all of a sudden these so-called spy balloons been floating in it, and out of desperation, if you pay attention, they're shooting them down. It's crazy. It's unheard of. They own like 5 or 6. They're shooting these spy balloons down. So you say, what's going on with that? Okay, well, let's look at it. The Most High went to Egypt and delivered his Israelites from Egypt, right? And he had promised Abraham that he was gonna get him a land flowing with milk and honey, and so he delivered them from Egypt, and he's taking them to the land. When they get to the land, getting ready to get their, get their blessings and get their land. So let's look at it. I'm in Joshua, and let's see what happens. Okay, let me get it in a minute. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I'm in chapter 2. So they got to take the land, right? So in verse chapter 2 of Joshua, verse 1, and Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shechem 2 men to spy secretly, saying, "Go view the land, even Jericho." And they went and came into the harlot's house of Rahab, and it was told the king of Jericho, saying, "Behold, there came men in hither tonight to the children of Israel to search out the land." Right? So they want the land. The Most High already told them they're going to have the land. So what they have to do? They got to spy the land out first before they take it. And we know what happened after that, after Joshua sent the spies. Then they came in and was killing everything moving, wiping out the whole cities. So these spy balloons, it's their time. You think that the Darius them didn't spy the land out? You think it just happened all out of the blue? They ended up taking over the land overnight. So they send these spy balloons in doing recons. It's hammer time. And they said it's out of desperation and fear. They know what they're doing. So all they can do, they just shooting down the spy balloons. That's all they're doing, is recon the area. We're looking at the places with you know, the weaknesses and checking the land out. And they trying to throw us off by saying they're UFOs. It's hammer time. They're spying, they're casing the land. It's over. Okay? So let's look at another situation. There ain't nothing new under the sun. Okay? Okay, give me a minute. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So right here, chapter 13 of Numbers. The 12 spies sent out from Canaan. This is from Moses. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, now, look at this. It's the Lord, right? Not the president, but the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, send thou men that they may search out the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel, and every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandments of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All these men were heads of the children of Israel. So what they doing? They're going to spy the land because Moses, Lord Hosts already told them it's their land. They're going to do a reconnaissance. It's over. Can't stop them. He sent these angels with Nebuchadnezzar. And they took over, they knocked off the Syrian army. Greatest army ever was. You think the Romans was ain't nothing nice. The Syrian army wasn't nothing nice. But their time it ran out. The decree came. That's where we at. Ain't nothing they can do. Okay, give me a minute. Yeah, so he didn't send a decree out. So that's what you're looking at. You're gonna hear about a lot of more. So after the spies came and they surveyed the land, then they came in and it was over. And started wiping out everything. That's where we at. All the weaknesses. It's checking, casing all our weaknesses, everything. And they're gonna come in and do they do. Prophecy gonna come to pass. So just for GP, they didn't just show up on the West Coast of Africa and got us. When you go back and do your history, they cased the West. They knew that the Israelites had left Jerusalem. They knew when they left. And they knew where they was at. They was on the West Coast of Africa. And so they would case them for years. Before they came there and got us off the West Coast, they had surveyed that place. They surveyed us. They knew all the gold, where the gold was at, all that. They knew all that before they came there. That's why it went down like it did. So these Russians and these Chinese did the same thing to them. Most High done recompense on their head. They done cased them out. They've been cased out for years. And now the time came. It's hammer time. So man, like he said, you can get into the scriptures, get to know who the God of Israel is, and evade this, what's getting ready to happen, or you can get caught up in it. It's on you, whatever one you want to do. Okay? Any comments? Okay, so no comments. So we're gonna do a little need to know information. I thought this was pretty interesting.
ago, I had, posted a mobile live stream. It wasn't a long one, about 3 minutes or so, talking about that we need to start diving into the dark version of Black history, because we see all the great inventions, and of course we know all that, and Martin Luther King and all the others, we know that, but we really need to talk about what happened to Black people. We really need to go into the dark version of Black history. People don't go there, to the dark version. What I mean by the dark version of Black history, everything that really happened to us. As I was doing some research this morning about what happened to Black women in this country and how sick these people, these white supremacists were, what they did to Black women. Why these people is trying to stop Black history from being taught. Why they don't want nobody to know their dirty deeds. They don't want nobody to know. Because if you start looking into the things they have done to Black people, all you can do is look back at them and say, bro, you need to pay them their reparations a whole lot more. They don't want to hear that, because as reparations keep being spoken about more and more and more, and reparations should be spoken about, because we need reparations and deserve reparations completely. But in this particular story here that happened to Black women, I know I'm on this website, so I'm going to say things, definitely try to say it in a way where you get it. I can't give it to you as raw here. Now, if you're more interested in hearing some raw forms, then I can put that on AfricanDiasporaNews.org, where I don't have to censor myself, but here we have to do it in a way. So Black women seeking to assert the rights of citizenship and freedom after the emancipation face dangers based on their race and their gender, just as they had for generations while enslaved. Black women were deleted in the same hangings of trees and massacres that took their lives as the same as Black men. But they were also more likely to suffer the trauma of being violated. And you know what I mean by that. They say in May of 1870, 15 white supremacists violated a Black woman while other members of the white supremacist terror group hung her husband. Days later, in the same North Carolina community, another white supremacist demon mob violated a Black woman and afterwards stuck knives in various parts of this sister's body. Now, this is coming from the University of South Carolina and the Dangers After Reconstruction study. Let's think about this. They will go in packs to go violate Black women. In packs. Let's think of the first one. 15 of them. 15. While they out here deleting the husband, these people are so sick and nasty. As a man, I wouldn't even want to be going behind a bunch of men and they bodily fluids just use on something, some freaky crap. But you doing this, and this is what they done all the time. This is what they don't want to teach in your school. How they will run around here doing this to Black women and girls and boys. And also men too. They say news of these incidents was spread throughout the entire Black community, devastating Black women with the terror of their dual vulnerability. And when you read stories like this, it just amazes me how even a Black woman lived with them today. I just don't see it. They say enslaved Black women had no legal means to resist or protect themselves from violation by white slave owners. No legal means. They can just do whatever they want to do. But this is what they say today. Well, we weren't the only people that enslaved people. It was happening all over the world. I could care less what happened all over the world. All we care about is the United States of America. That's the only thing we care about. That old cop out like everybody else doing it, so what's the big deal? Y'all were pedos, y'all were demons, y'all were evil, what you did to Black people. And Black folk need to continue to talk about everything that you have done to Black people. The world should know what you've done. Now it says early as the 1830s, Black abolitionists Maria Stewart called for the law to recognize Black women as full humans with rights to control their bodies and to grant or withhold consent. But reality lagged far behind. Said in Missouri in 1855, a young enslaved Black woman named Celia was convicted of deletion and hung from a tree for deleting a white man. They say who had enslaved and repeatedly violated her. The court rejected her self-defense claim, concluding that enslaved Black women had no right to resist white slave owners' advances. This is the history of America, ladies and gentlemen, that they had free reign. Do you know when you do these DNA tests and then you see when you have somewhere from 12 to some people up to 20% of devil blood? Yes, I say devil blood because that blood didn't get in by consensual relationships and marriage and things like that. That blood that got into us as Black Americans in our DNA came from the violation of Black women. That's where it came from. Now, thank God that the African genes are still stronger, and of course, there's more African genes there, but a lot of us have demon blood in us, and that's why I call it. And this is why some of you got the tendencies to act like them.
All Israel ain't Israel.
Because that blood is in you, unfortunately. Not by choice. They say the white supremacists were determined to maintain the economic exploitation and political dominance they had enjoyed during slavery. And the white supremacists refused to relinquish their freedom to violate Black women with impunity. And so even before the Civil War's end, Southern state legislators implemented laws providing different protections to white women and Black women. The Georgia Code of 1861 specified a mandatory sentencing range for violating a white woman, but let courts decide whether and how to punish violations of Black women. Black women, the white woman has never been your friend. She's still not your friend today. Some of you complaining like, oh, see, they say we together, but look how they go vote. They vote completely against us. They never been on your side. Because why didn't they say nothing back then? And even white women owned slaves too. Read the book, They Were Her Property. Read it. Let's say indifferent and complicit law enforcement officers undermine federal attempts to protect Black women. And say in October 1866, a Freedmen's Bureau agent delivered arrest warrants for 2 white supremacists accused of beating a Black woman named Sylvie Solian and deleting her son. But the local Louisiana sheriff refused to arrest them. That summer in Louisiana, Bureau records reveal an even more devastating story. Now, Captain N.B. Blanton, a Sparta, reports Cuff Canara, Freedman, and Dan Docking, a white supremacist, had a quarrel because Docking had twice committed a violation on a freedman's wife. Now, they used to call us freedmen. We wasn't called Black, we was called freedmen at that point, okay? So you get into a fight about this man violating this brother's wife. So Canara stated to the agent of the Bureau he was tracked by hounds for 10 miles and fired on by the white supremacists, Dan Docking, Norman Docking, and John Palmer. Shot in the left side of his back. And finally, he reached the agent having deleted 3 out of 4 dogs. Well, that brother was tough, wasn't he? Warrants issued for the arrest of the parties, but they have not been found. And from statement of people, does not think they'll be arrested. The people appearing to think the freedman had committed the greater crime by deleting the dogs than the man who shot him.
Okay, yeah. So any comments on that? Anybody got any comments?
I'm just gonna say, wow, they have free will with us. You know what I'm saying? And we could not even defend ourselves.
Right.
That's something.
Right. So we got the thing to deal with is, like he said, we destroyed from lack of knowledge. How many people know all this? Because like he said, if you did know that, why you all up in their face? And why you while you operating like they operate. Like I say, they the ones concocted the New Testament. So volunteering to think like them and their ideologies. You ain't did no research. You don't have no idea on how the world get to where it's at today. You just was born into it and did those 18 years to be institutionalized, and then you don't have nothing else. You don't have no argument because you don't know shit. So you don't have no argument unless you can search this out. And we see who these people are. So every aspect of life, even banking, dealing with the bank, and everything, church, you gotta search it out because we see who they are, how wicked they is. You gotta know for yourself. You can't just come in and embrace everything that you come into on the ass end of all this didn't happen and you just embracing it and then and defending it. You ain't did the research. It's crazy. But like I was saying earlier, it's doomsday because of all this right here. The time that came, we bringing in, they doing the recon. It's time. It's hammer time. This little joyride is over. So like I said, you can get caught up in it, or you can get connected to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not the God they gave you, but get connected to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay. Okay. Ain't that something? So anybody got any comments or questions on something they came across during the week? These conversations we've been having? Anybody got any comments or something they want to talk about? Yeah, so if you want to watch all of that video I was playing, I just played pretty much half of it. It's on African Diaspora News Channel, and it's Black women were targets for mobs of white supremacy looking to violate them after Reconstruction. Okay. No comments, questions, anything they want to get broken down or deciphered. Okay. I got something right here to play. I'm always talking about like I said, when you understand who Esau is and the deception, how deceptive he is, and slick. I often talk about W.E. Du Bois. For the people that know who that is, they got him elevated up on this big pedestal, especially over in Ghana. That's where they ran him out of the United States, and he ended up the rest of his life in Ghana. So Ghana coming on the scene now ain't no accident.
Now you talk about terror. What about for me? I've been terrorized all my day. All my day.
Yeah, so another thing I was thinking about, I wanted to inject before I continue on this, is that, all these hard conversations and the stuff that's coming out hard to bleed, and you got you got the house Negro, or they got the opportunity now they can mute you, or they can get off the line, they can do whatever they want. That's the opportunity. The spy planes, all that tied to all that. There's gonna come a time where all that shit got to go. They don't want to deal with the hard issues. Don't want to deal with the truth. Don't deal with the men that the Most High bringing forward. All that's coming to the spy planes tied to that too. All that's coming to an end. That's paganism.
with Chris Hedges' report. W.E.B. Du Bois was the first Black to earn a doctorate from Harvard University, one of the founders of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or NAACP, and the Niagara Movement, and one of the seminal scholars of American history, author of works such as The Souls of Black Folk, The Philadelphia Negro, his ethnographic survey of Black life that established the field of urban sociology, and Black Reconstruction in America, a work that radically altered our understanding of the social and political struggles for democracy by Black Americans in the post-bellum South, and which many consider one of the finest works of American history ever produced. He was as fearless as he was brilliant. He denounced accommodationists such as Booker T. Washington, thundered against Jim and Jane Crow and the reign of terror in the South, with its segregation, race laws, and lynch mobs, along with the evils of imperialism and colonialism, and the inherent cruelty and injustices of capitalism. A supporter of the Russian Revolution and a socialist, he would be swept up in the anti-communist witch hunts of the 1950s, becoming an outlaw in his own country, hauled into court at the age of 83 and barely escaping imprisonment. He left the United States in 1960 for Ghana to die in exile. Du Bois, like all great intellectuals, gave us the vocabulary to explain ourselves to ourselves. He rivaled, or was rivaled perhaps only at the time, by John Dewey. Although Dewey lacked Du Bois's understanding of the mechanics of empire and the dark machinations of white supremacy. We will today examine some of Du Bois's fundamental ideas with his biographer, Professor Gerald Horne, the Moores Professor of History and African American Studies at the University of Houston. So Gerald, Du Bois writes that Blacks in America are gifted with what he calls a second sight, or a double consciousness. And I wondered if you could.
So that's why I played all that for that right there. So he said that Blacks in America, that we know as the Israelites, is gifted with a second sight. So let's go to some scriptures right quick for the naysayers, right? So yeah, Isaiah 53. Okay. Isaiah 53. So we just saw in Daniel, right? He went all over. Nebuchadnezzar got all his musicians and everybody to try to decipher the dream, but then he eventually had to call Daniel. And why did he call Daniel? Daniel had the spirit of the gods in him. That's what this Negro talking about. That's being disregarded by the whole world. So let's look at 53. Now they want to say this. They want to say this Yahushua, but verse 53, verse 1 says, "Who have believed our report?" How in the hell is that one man? He says, "Who have believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed?" It's revealed to the people that got this gift right here. It's double vision. That's who Isaiah 53 talking about. Right here, what he talking about. But notice they got Coon on the forefront. He know that, but he not one of those people. He a pawn, they use him. Even to this very day, they got Negroes in these mega churches all over the place. They don't possess that ability, but they got them in these positions. That's why we in the predicament we in. Back in the day, we see Jeremiah, Daniel, and all them, they was at the forefront. They're the ones most out. He was using his own people to dictate things. They got a group of coons now. Even when you're trying to deal with the scriptures, they're not gifted. They don't have the gift to deal with the scriptures, but they in that place, thinking they're thinking they dealing with the scriptures, and everything they doing is tied to the enemy's ideology and the enemy's perception of everything. You can show it to them 1,000 times, they ain't gonna get it. Okay? So let's listen to a little more of this.
Explain that, and perhaps even explain his very controversial concept of the talented tenth.
With regard to the former point, he's referring to the fact that Black Americans have roots in Africa, and as many anthropologists subsequently have tended to suggest, when our ancestors were handcuffed, manacled, and dragged across the Atlantic, they did not necessarily leave behind all of their culture. You see this obviously with regard to music and dance. Linguists have suggested that you see it reflected in the kind of English that Black Americans, at least many of them, tend to speak. And so one of the sites that Du Bois is referring to is this knowledge of Africa, this African ancestral and cultural background. And of course, the other site is insight into the United States, insight into settler colonialism, insight into white supremacy, all of which were necessary in order to survive, if not maintain one's sanity. Likewise, with regard to the talented tenth, it was a flexible concept. When it initially devised, it seemed to refer to Du Bois's overemphasis on education and the university and college experience as helping to develop a cadre of individuals who would lead the Africans in North America out of the wilderness that is North America. But as time passed, and this was indicative of Du Bois's thinking, that particular concept tended to evolve to the point where towards the end of its life, it tended to resemble a kind of vanguard, the kind of vanguard that you see proclaimed by the Black Panther Party when it comes to an existence in Oakland in 1966, or vanguard parties, which you see all across the planet Earth. So that particular evolution of that thought is also indicative of the evolution of one W.E.B. Du Bois, who, as you...
So let's look at that. Got to look at that. So Daniel, like I said, our forefathers that we read about in our history book, which is the Old Testament, from Genesis to Malachi, there wasn't no such thing as Harvard, Yale, none of that. Wisdom they got it from their forefathers. It was instilled in their DNA, and they got it from heaven, and they were dealing with these angels. So right here, he said that he was gonna cause us not to know who he was, and we was gonna pick up their ways. Let's read that. So this is how they did it. So they chose certain Negroes to go to certain schools back then. Let's look at it. So the more you deal with them, the more further you get away from your heritage and what the Most High gave you. Look at this. You ain't going toward the Most High. You're going away from it because you're picking up their ideologies. So let's look at it. Okay. There's some more play.
Correctly suggested, had a socialist ethos based in no small measure on the fact that as early as the 1890s, and recall he was born in 1868, he had matriculated at the University of Berlin in Germany, with Germany having perhaps the most advanced socialist movement of that era. And as early as 1912, this, of course, after having returned to the United States and founded the NAACP, he had become a member of the Socialist Party. And that was not unusual with regard to founders of the
So here we go, right here. I had to get my thoughts together. Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee from among all people, shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there you shall serve other gods. See that? Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stones. Like I said, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, all them didn't know none of this, what we're dealing with now. And then 65, and among these nations shall thou find no ease, neither shall thy soul of thy feet have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there trembling of heart, failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. Okay, so we see right here, there's a whole, we didn't develop a whole nother ideology, way of thinking, way of acting, way of dealing. We definitely ain't dealing with the Creator that was in the God that was in the Old Testament, because they didn't put the system in place, which is the beast system. They got you think coming. When we came over here on the boat, we came to the beast system. It ain't coming. It's that we at the end. We coming to the end of it. That's what these spy planes I'm talking about are all about. The recons. They're finna shut it down. Most High using the Chinese and the Russians to shut it down, just like he said in the second Ezra. We at the end of it. So you gotta go back and really reflect on what you're thinking about, the conclusions that you're coming to, and what you believe in. Because 9 times out of 10, it's some mumbo jumbo they didn't gave you. It ain't true. Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody got any comments on what they just heard or read? I'm gonna read out of Book of Enoch, chapter 71, and break it down. Then we'll close. Anybody got any comments on anything? What I was just playing was Chris Hodges' report, Dr. Gerald Horn, on the legacy of W. Du Bois. You want to check it out? Yeah, so I'm in Enoch chapter 71. We was kind of referencing the book Enoch during the week on these different little platforms that we was on. And so that's why I'm over in the book of Enoch. I was looking at it last night and I felt a need to kind of deal with chapter 71. Start with chapter 71 anyway. Okay, so let me get it. Okay, I'm in Enoch chapter 71. It says, and it came to pass after this that my spirit was translated and it ascended into heaven. Right? Okay, so like I was telling you before, now this is what our forefathers. This is what our forefathers. This happened to our forefathers, right? Enoch is one of our forefathers, and he wrote. This was written down for us to know that. So this was the Gentile and the Edomite done. So now he comes and he concocts a book, right? I'm just gonna give you a few examples before I get to reading. So here you go. We in Revelation, right? We in the book of Revelation. This is what I mean by what I was just talking about having knowledge from the Most High and spewing out their knowledge. So I'm in chapter 4 of Revelation. So it says, and after this I looked, it's John, right? He don't have no Israelite name. They want to give him an Israelite name, but he don't have no Israelite name. You're a Gentile. That's why his name John. So it says, chapter 4, after this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet talking with me, which said, come up hither, and I will show thee the things which must be hereafter. See? So, and immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, the throne was set in heaven. So they got that from over here, what I just read. Right? It says, when it came to pass, after this would happen to our forefather Enoch, It came to pass after this that my spirit was translated and then ascended in heaven. That's where they get that from, with John, right? Okay. Now I saw the holy sons of God stepping on the flames of fire. So let's look at that. It says, I saw the holy sons, right? The holy sons, these are angels of God, the 7 angels, stepping on flames of fire, right? So why does it say they're stepping on flames of fire? The Most High, I showed you in Ezekiel chapter 1, he's made out of consuming fire. There's no flesh on his body. He's a silhouette of a man, and he's consuming fire, and he's a consuming fire. Then he created these 7 angels from fire, from himself. That's why they're stepping on fire. So let's look at what Enoch had to say about it. Okay? I mean, not Enoch, but Ezekiel. My bad. So I'm in the book of Ezekiel right quick. Okay. I think it's 14. Ezekiel 14 says, get it. Okay. Yeah, I think it's Isaiah. I might have made a mistake. Let me go to Isaiah right quick. See? Yeah. Okay. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, give me a minute. Okay, yeah. It's in 14, my bad. It says, this is Isaiah 14. And I'm going to start at verse 10. Say, all they shall speak and say unto thee, or thou also become weak as we, or thou become talking about Samuel, Lucifer, Satan, like unto us. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worms is spread under thee, and thy worms cover thee. Say, how art thou fallen? So you want to know how Lucifer fell from heaven. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, and I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, and I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north, and I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to the earth, down to the earth. Okay, let me get it. I was yet thou shalt be brought down to the hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee and say, in this, is this the man that made the earth tremble, that did shake the heavens, that made the worlds as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners, and the kings of nations, even all of them, he lie in glory, everyone that is in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as a remnant of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down into the stones of the pit, and the carcass trodden underfoot. Let me see. I'm trying to find. Okay, that may be in the wrong place. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I go back and get the verse, but I'm just gonna remind you what it was. He was talking to Lucifer, and he told him that he walking up and down the stones of fire. I can't remember the verse. Somebody might can bring it up if they know. He was talking to the King of Tyre. But I don't. Let me see. Yeah, let me see. Somebody know what that said? Arabia. Let me see. Yeah, I'll refer back to that this evening. But he's talking about what I just read in Enoch. You know, it goes right along with what the Most High was talking about. Lord of Hosts was talking about Satan when he said he saw him falling from heaven, and he said that he at one time he was walking upon the stones of fire in heaven. So that's what verse 2 is telling you right here in Enoch chapter 71. And I saw the holy sons of God stepping on flames of fire. Same thing. And it's referring to these 7 angels. It says their garments were white and their raiment and their faces shone like the sun. And I saw 2 streams of fire, and the light of that fire shone like a halogen. And I fell on my face before the Lord of spirits. And the angel Michael, one of the archangels, seized me by my right hand and lifted me up and led me forth into all secrets. And he showed me all the secrets of righteousness, and he showed me all the secrets of the ends of the heaven. So let's look at it right quick. So they say that wisdom is a woman, and wisdom is what Nebuchadnezzar saw in Daniel was wisdom. What Solomon got was wisdom. So let's look at it. I'm telling you, the Most High created 7 angels, and he in the beginning, the first one he created was Michael. And then I showed you in the scriptures, all through the scriptures, where he's dealing with mankind. So right here, you got people saying that these Greeks and Romans and wrote it in because they dealing with the Egyptians. They had a perverted understanding of who the woman was, because they weren't dealing with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They weren't dealing with the heavens. They dealing with paganism. So he tells you right here, right, verse 3, their garments were white and their raiment and their faces shone like the snow. And I saw 2 streams of fire, and the light of that fire shone like a halogen. And I fell on my face before the Lord of spirits, right? So he fell on his face before the Lord of hosts, because he'd been taken up to heaven. And the angel Michael, see that? Michael, one of the archangels, seized me by my right hand, lifted me up, and led me forth into all secrets. See that? This is dealing with wisdom, right? 7. And he showed me all the secrets of righteousness, that's wisdom, and he showed me all the secrets of the ends of heaven. And he showed me all the chambers, all the stars, all the luminaries, which they proceeded for, before the face of the holy ones. That's the 7 angels. Michael had showed him all that. This same person came to Solomon. Solomon asked for wisdom, but he gave him everything else along with wisdom. Right? And he showed me the chambers of all the stars and of all the luminaries, which they proceed before the face of the holy ones. And he translated my spirit into the heavens of heavens, and I saw there, as it were, a structure built of crystal. So this point right here I want to make. So this is what Yahweh, creator, self-existing one, this is his house. This is his temple right here. He translated my spirit into the heavens of heavens, and he showed me there, this Michael showing in this, he showed me there, as it were, a structure built of crystal. So he ain't bringing him to Jerusalem. Temple in Jerusalem and Yahweh temple. He took him, look here. He says, and he translated my spirit into the heavens of heavens, not Jerusalem. And I saw there, as it were, a structure, a temple. That's where he built a crystal. Now, let's look at it. Let's go to Let's go to King James right quick. So let's see who this temple is in Jerusalem. Who it's for? Isaiah, right? Chapter 8, verse 18. It says, chapter 8, verse 18. This is Isaiah talking. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for signs and wonders in Israel, from the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth in Mount Zion. See that? When Enoch was taken up, Michael took him to the Yahweh house. It ain't in Jerusalem. And Isaiah telling you right here, behold, I and the children whom the Lord, we want to know who the Lord is, have given me, can say, behold, I and the children whom the Lord have given me are for signs and wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts. See that? This is the Lord over all the hosts. It ain't Yahweh. And he dwell in Mount Zion. He the one dwell in Jerusalem. Okay? So
Shalom, Brother Leonard.
yeah.
Look at Ezekiel 28, stones of fire, verse 14.
Okay. Let me get there right quick.
Yes, sir.
28.
Yes, sir. Around verse 14.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So okay, yeah. I'm not flipping all past this a minute ago. So it says, yeah, thou art the anointed cherubim that cover me, and I have set thee so. Thou was upon the holy mountain of God, and thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. There it is. So you go back to Ezekiel, back to Enoch where I was at, verse 2, and there it is. It says, and I saw the holy ones of God stepping on the flames of fire. Same thing. Ain't no Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. It's these 7 angels right here. Right? So anyway, I'm back at 10. 9, and he translated my spirit into the heavens of heavens, and I saw there as it were a structure built of crystal. Now, so here go the structure, right? The temple. And between those crystals, tongues of living fire. And my spirit saw the girdle which encircled that house. There go the house, was the temple of fire. And on its 4 sides were streams full of living fire, and they were bound. They were bound to that house. And round about were seraphim, cherubic, orphan, and these are they who slept or not, and God is the throne of his glory. And I saw angels who could not be counted, even 1,000 of thousands and tens of thousands times 10,000 encircling the house. We don't see this in Jerusalem, right? Okay, 2 different locations. And Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, female, and the holy angels who are above the heavens go in and out of the house. So let's look at that. I had somebody made a statement the other day. He only got 4 holy angels around him. We saw where he created 7, right? Let's look at it. Since people might not have heard this before. So I'm in Zechariah. Make it plain. Zechariah chapter 4 says, verse 10 says, for who have despised the day of small things, for they shall rejoice and shall see the plummet of Zerubbabel with those 7. So what is he talking about? The plummet of Zerubbabel come back. Zerubbabel one built the temple when they came out of Babylon. He came back and built the temple, but he was assisted by these 7 angels. They are the eyes of the Lord, which run to and fro through the whole earth. So these sons, the stones of fire. These, and there's 7 of them. So we had somebody made a statement about the 4. Yeah, these are 4 right here. That's in, out of those 7. These are 4 that carry the Most High throne in Ezekiel chapter 1. That Ezekiel saw in chapter 1. That was in the cloud. Let's look at that. I mean, I got time. So I'm in Ezekiel chapter 4, right? Let's look at chapter 1. And it says, Verse 3, the word of the Lord came especially unto Ezekiel the priest, son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Chabar, and the hand of the Lord was upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, a fire enfolding itself, and the brightness was about it, and out the midst thereof came the color of amber, out of the midst thereof fire. Also, out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures. There he is. I ain't write it. So there you go, right there. These the 4 that's carrying this throne. These the 4 angels that's carrying this throne, right? So we back over here in Enoch. And it says, verse 14, Enoch 71 and 14, and Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, female. These are 4 that's in the cloud with him. He ain't in the cloud by himself. And the holy angels who are above heaven. There's 3 more of them, 7 altogether. Go in and out of that house. Nobody else can go in and out of the house. You got thousands upon thousands surrounding it. But these 7, I don't know what go in the house because they made out of the same substance that Yahweh is made out of. That's who is in Genesis chapter 26, 1 and verse 26. Let us make man in our image. Okay. 15. And they came forth from the house. Here you go. They came forth from the house. See this? It don't say Jesus and Job and all them. He says they came forth from the house, and Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Phinehal, and many holy angels without number. And with them the head of days, his head white and pure, and wool, and his raiment indescribable. And I fell on my face, and my whole body became relaxed, and my spirit was transfigured. And I cried with a loud voice with the spirit of power, and blessed and glorified that extolled him. And these blessings which went forth out of my mouth were well pleasing before the head of days. And that head of days came with Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Phinehal, and thousands upon 10,000 of angels without number. Right? Then it says 22, and the angel who talked with me came to me, greeted me with his voice, and said unto me. So here we go. Now, this is what I was saying about you can't act like you haven't heard this. 22, and the angel, this Michael, who talked with me, we saw that in verse 6. And Michael, one of the holy angels, sees me. So it's him. And the angel who talked with me came to me, greeted me with his voice, and said unto me, look at this. This, talking to Enoch, this is the Son of Man. See that? How in the hell Jesus is the Son of Man? He says, this is the Son of Man who was born under righteousness, and righteousness abide over him. And righteousness of the holy head of days forsake him not. It's Enoch. This is why he was taken. We read that. Let's look at it. You know, like I said, time is up. So we in Enoch. Let me get my other Bible. So it says in chapter 5 of Enoch, Genesis, chapter 5 of Genesis says, okay, verse 21, Enoch lived 60 and 5 years, and he begot Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah 300 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 360 and 5 years. Enoch walked with God, he was not, for God took him. Why he take him? Because he was so righteous. So that's why Michael telling him right here, righteousness abide on you. That's why he took him, because righteousness abide on him. You know, he wasn't born of no virgin. That's an abomination. So he took it. Enoch is the Son of Man. Let me get it. You know, got to excuse me. Page is flipping back on me. Okay, so he says, 22, and the angel who talked with me came to me and greeted me, this Enoch, with his voice, and he said unto me, this is the Son of Man who is born unto righteousness, and righteousness abide over him, and righteousness of the head of days forsake him not. This way before JC came. This before the flood. Okay, and then 24, and he said unto me, he proclaims unto thee peace in the name of the world to come. In the name of the world to come. For from hence has proceeded peace since the creation of the world, and so shall it be unto thee forever and ever and ever. What do that mean? Forever and ever and ever. 3 evers. Come on. 26. And all shall walk in his ways. All shall walk in his ways. Righteousness never forsake him. They all gonna subscribe to be like Enoch. With him will be their dwelling places, and with him their heritage, and they shall not be separated from him forever and ever. So if you go by the New Testament, JC to separate them from Enoch. Come on. 28. And so there shall be length of days with the Son of Man, and righteousness shall have peace and upright way in the name of the spirits of forever and ever. So that was the end of that chapter 71, but I want to put a nail in the coffin in verse 28. So shall there be a length of days with the Son of Man, that's Enoch, and righteousness shall have peace and an upright way. They go the way that supposedly Saul, when he got blinded on the road to Damascus, he couldn't see. Say JC appeared to him, and so they took him to where? To a street called straight the way, show him the way, which is JC, which is Buddhism, but he go the right way right here. And so there shall be length of days. There shall be length of days with the Son of Man, and righteousness shall have peace and an upright way in the name of the Lord of Spirit forever and ever. All this is way back in the book of Enoch. That's where all of it coming. It's showing the face again in a perverted way in the New Testament. Okay, so anybody got any comments on anything I just read out of the book of Enoch before we go? Any comments, questions, or anything before we go? Nobody have no comments or questions?
No, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, if they don't get it by now, they're not gonna get it.
Okay. Okay. So everybody good?
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, so like I said before, we got a morning Sabbath class, and then we have an evening Sabbath class. We're gonna close out the Sabbath this evening on our evening Sabbath class at 6 o'clock. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom to everybody. I'll see y'all this evening at 6 o'clock.
Shalom, everybody.
Yeah, shalom.